This vehicle is the 86 Winnebago. It's been sitting overnight, has not been started today. We had a near freeze last night. So I'm going to show you what it's going to take to get started. The 6-cylinder is transverse, and I have compression tested these 3 cylinders. They all test good. I have not done the back. That's kind of harder to get to. This will actually be the 4th time I've started it. Gotta get the right key. Alright. Holy crap. So that was interesting. I didn't have the pedal down or anything. I wanted to see what it'd do. So it fired immediately, but it didn't stay running. There we go, now I'm doing some pedal. Okay, so it's on its own now. And you can see what it's doing. It's kind of up and down on its own. The computer is compensating for it dropping, and then it kind of, whatever it's doing. And then it didn't make it that time. So what I'm going to do is keep the pedal up for a little bit and let it warm up. You can see that it's cold right now, so when I come back it should be... Alright, while it's warming up, you can hear the fuel pump. That high-pitched squeal is the fuel pump, for sure. It's not the engine. Now what you can hear from the engine is a ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, and that tells me I think at least one of the 6 cylinders is probably not firing at idle. Once you rev it over about 2,000, everything seems to fire in and it actually revs smoothly, but at the moment, until that point, I don't know. So it sounds like an ignition issue. At high RPM, it's not clunking, nothing sounds loose, no valve issues. You know, it sounds like mechanically it's okay. So that has yet to be diagnosed. It smells like it's burning rich, or it smells, exhaust stinks, so. There's some leaks underneath. That's easy, obviously. It's an easy fix. The muffler's new. I believe the cat was very new. Wherever it is, it looks pretty good. It almost looks like this hasn't been welded in. It looks like it's just sitting there. So that might account for the leak, I don't know. What else to show you? The dash does have some cracking in it. I believe that's why these little things were inserted. Funny enough, it almost looks like the original dash was black and then someone painted it tan. Which is unfortunate, because the black dash, in my opinion, is better, especially now that the donor dash is black. So one of my to-dos is to paint the whole thing black. And of course put a stereo in and all those kinds of things. There's the tilt steering. It's got the Dodge key in it. Not sure what else to tell you. All the glass except for the front is fine. There's no cracks or scratches or any of that kind of stuff. The back 2 windows do fold out or screw out. They work. Those are the important ones. So far I haven't got the generator working. I need to give it some gas, but you can hear it crank. It sounds fine, actually. So we get that to fire, it should be okay. Display works, water pump works. Again, we need to put a stereo back in this thing. All the lights inside working. The bathroom is all there. Lights in here work. It's got the original toilet. The shower pan is in good shape, if I remember correctly. No cracks in it. The fridge is operated on a button right here. That way you don't have to go in there and turn that crappy little dial on the back. So it works good. I haven't yet tried the propane. All right, here we are. We're rolling. I got this thing backed out. It's slowly warming up, but it's rolling. I wish that thing wasn't screaming because it's quite annoying. Brakes are working. Front end's creaking a little bit. Tires feel a little mushy. Could just be the suspension. It's now in second gear. It's a little bouncy on the bumps. I'm guessing the shocks are dead. That's interesting. Seems to be rolling just fine and the brakes are working. So even with what feels like one cylinder missing, it seems pretty powerful. I mean, even better than the 4-cylinder. I haven't floored it yet because I'm not that brave just yet. But it's downshifting, it's upshifting, it's warming up. That was a downshift floor. Feeling a little warmth coming out of the air vent, so I know coolant's circulating through the heater condenser or coil. That's good. So here we go, we're out. The cooling fans are kicked on. Both of them. The thing's cooling just fine. These are about half the volume of the phaser I had. Those fans were loud. Actually, we can see the other side now that there's sunlight on it. And by the way, the windshield, it'll survive a trip, but I don't know if the cops will like seeing it, you know what I'm saying? The most noticeable is the big old batch there in the bottom, and then the rest of it is just crap. Here's the stock generator. It's actually pretty hard to get to. I'm not sure how I'm gonna begin working on this one. You see the carburetor in there and stuff. Probably needs an oil change and so now that it's warmed up, it's running a little smoother, but not perfect. Sounds like it's missing in there. It stinks a lot less too, of course. Here's this access panel. You got your power cable in there. There's a dump hose back there. My intent would be to put a quick disconnect 30 amp jack on the outside, make it easy. So here we are in gear. Now the engine's warmed up nicely, fans are kicking on like they should. Now that it's warm, it seems to be running so much better. I'm actually not afraid to get on it now because it feels like it's better. So I think just running this engine is going to clean it out a little bit. Perhaps I did find one of the 3 plugs that I pulled out was gapped really short. I mean, it doesn't make any sense how short it was gapped. And so I fixed that, and I'm guessing probably the other side really could be compression checked and gapped. They replaced the plugs and the wires. So it's driving, and maybe the fuel pump will increase the pressure a little bit. You know, with that whine, who knows? Maybe that's slowing the flow down a little bit. When I was turning really sharp coming out of the alley, I heard a little rub, just a little light one. So I think this conversion, the wheels aren't centered up front. They're, for whatever reason, because of placement or whatever, they probably, I think they're a little forward. So a bigger tire right now would probably cause a rubbing. I think some shocks. Of course, new tires, a little bit of driving, this thing will be running better. New windshield, and it ought to be inspectable. A little bumpy. These roads suck, but it's a little bumpy. I suspect the handling could be improved. But it's a Winnebago. What are you going to do? I'm not sure what else to show you. It's running better than I expected, actually. If I can get rid of that awful. Yeah, it's running pretty good, actually. Huh. Oh, now I'm tempted to get this thing on the highway and see what it does. Maybe I can blow it out and clean it out. And at any rate, none of the fan systems, blowers are working inside, so there's no cooling. The ride home will be with the window down, so keep that in mind. It's actually running pretty good right now. Again, better than I expected. Doesn't seem to be having any idle misfires or anything anymore. A little bit to make room for the alternator. That's probably why the engine is so far forward, and they just couldn't align the drive shaft very good. I put that battery in, very good, strong. Got the horn. It looks like everything's here, that it should pass any inspections and whatnot. The brakes were solid, there's no fluids leaking anymore. I'm starting to think this is going to make it on a trip home somewhere. The only thing that I might worry about is this back tire. This is a trailer tire, and it's kind of dry rot, and I don't know. It might make it. I mean, it made it back. The back two wheels were towed home on this tow dolly right here. I mean, you know what I mean. The front end was up, and these tires made it home halfway across the country. So maybe they can do it again. Certainly smells a lot better when it's warm. Huh. I guess it's probably burning all cylinders now. There you go. You can see how the wheels are forward. It's kind of disgusting that they didn't do it any better than that. But what can I do? suppose I could show you something underneath here. Let's see what I get. I've had it running for a while, and it seems like the longer it runs, the smoother it gets. I'm not seeing any, the fans are off right now, and I'm not seeing anything smoking. I don't know of any drips, leaks, anything. So this might end up being in better shape than I expected, actually. When I bought this, I told myself, don't be surprised if a piston's out or something awful, but so far so good. I still hear a little bit of sputtering. Fans just kicked on and loaded down the engine. The oil pressure sender is not working. Couldn't tell you if it's the sender or the gauge or wiring harness at this point. I don't think oil pressure is an issue at this point in time, but and then the fuel gauge sender's not working.